Welcome to the murder capital of Europe, home of the deadliest gang in the world.
Multiple calculated assassination. On December 18th, 2019, a Dutch-Moroccan hitman and major drug trafficker responsible for multiple calculated assassinations all over Europe, from Spain to the Netherlands, is relaxing in his mansion within the city of Dubai. He had entered the UAE under a false identity because one of the biggest trials against organized crime in the Netherlands was taking place, and he was a one man.
Crazy.
However, authorities have discovered his location,
Right.
and the Dubai police storm his mansion and arrest him under an international arrest warrant. The UAE doesn't have extradition, but since he entered the country illegally, he is simply deported to face trial
I didn't know that. I thought the UAE had extradition.
in Amsterdam. He is considered one of the most dangerous men in the world. This trial was against high-ranking members of the so-called Moroccan Mafia, a group that no doubt played a role in the Netherlands becoming the #1 exporter of ecstasy in the world. But the case really started coming together with the help of a key witness, as a couple years before this, in January 2017, a man named Hakim is murdered by the Mafia. Only one problem: he wasn't the intended target.
They
He
blew
just
his
had
car
the
up?
misfortune of living in the same apartment building as the man who was supposed to die that day. So Nabil B., the Mafia member who arranged for the getaway cars in this crime, fearing retaliation from the victim's family and feeling disgrace at the mistake the Mafia had just made, he decided to hand himself over to authorities and become a witness. He did this by tipping off authorities on the presence of an armed man. This armed man was him. But when you decide to cooperate with law enforcement against a group that has its eyes and hands in multiple countries, you won't be able to keep it a secret for long.
Multiple countries. This some whole different type shit. This man was a hitman and drug trafficker in multiple countries in Europe and got into Dubai under a false identification. How do you even do that shit? And somewhere in a Dubai mansion chilling with his feet up and his toes twinkling. I want to put y'all on to some of the easiest money you'll ever make in your life. Freecash.com is a website that allows you to literally get paid hundreds of dollars just for playing video games on your phone. All you need is an email and a password. Follow the directions on each of the campaigns and you can earn at least $100. My personal favorite game to play was Sunrise Island, and when I clicked on it, they had a $370 bonus. I got $370 just for playing the video game on my phone. On average, it only takes about 17 minutes for most people to start earning money on Freecash.com. So if you need some free, easy, extra money, go to Freecash.com, click the QR code right here, or go in the description below and start getting that bag. You did? Do your homework on Twinkling Toes.
And this decision will lead to several deaths around this star witness. But before we get to that, I want to make it clear that the man captured in Dubai, who authorities claim to be a shot caller and even leader, had no problem with having anyone he suspected of working with police taken out. Just in the 2 years leading up to Nabil flipping to be a crown witness, 5 murders and 4 attempts, all linked to the same organization, would take place. And it's important to note that the Moroccan Mafia, just like the Mafia in, let's say, New York or Philadelphia, isn't just one singular group operating under one leader. The Moroccan Mafia is more of a loose term to describe the different groups involved in organized crime, consisting of both immigrants from Morocco as well as the ethnically Dutch crime families. The group covered in this video is more specifically known as the Taghi organization, because it was headed by the aforementioned leader that was captured in Dubai, Ridwan Taghi. And each organization operates in different manners with different connections. For instance, Taghi and his associates have 2 very interesting connections, allegedly. One is Taghi's involvement in what the DEA calls a super cartel, headed by himself,
controlling a third of Europe's
boss, and the Irish Canaan cartel, which is the most powerful crime syndicate in Ireland, and Raffaele Imperiali, an Italian crime boss and member of the Camorra, one of the oldest criminal organizations in Italy, with the headquarters of this super cartel allegedly being in Dubai. Now, together, these men were said to have an exclusive monopoly on the sale of Peruvian cocaine. And they've also been associated with cartels in Chile. But this is not the most interesting connection he is said to have. That would have to be the fact that the Crown authorities in the Netherlands allege that the Iranian Secret Service played a hand in protecting Taghi in return for his help in assassinating enemies of the Iranian regime who were hiding out in Europe.
This some deep, crazy type shit,
Tahmid, who had been living a quiet life, keeping a low profile as an electrician. He tried his best to stay away from parties and public events because he always had a lingering fear that the Iranian government was after him, sticking to a routine of leaving the house every day at 9:45 a.m., even refusing to go to the funeral of his wife's brother in France on December 11, 2015 because it would conflict with his schedule. And that same day, because of a late appointment, he actually had to leave the house at a later time anyway, which is actually what saved him since the assassin sitting outside of his house, captured here on CCTV, fled the area since they would have preferred to catch him earlier in the morning when the neighborhood was more quiet.
That's crazy.
But the following Tuesday, when he left at his scheduled time, he wouldn't be so lucky.
Damn.
Now, a little over a year
They was
after
waiting on
Nabil
him.
switched sides, it was well known that he had become a state witness for the Dutch crown. And at this time, Taghi was still on the run and had not yet been captured in Dubai. But that didn't stop him from sending a message, which was intercepted by the police, in which he stated that he'd make Nabil's entire family sleep. And shortly after, Nabil's brother, who had nothing to do with the criminal enterprise and was actually a legit business owner, was lured into a trap and murdered in front of his own business in March 2018 when he was shot and found inside of a burning vehicle. The family was in so much danger that police even had to stand guard at his funeral. Once the shooter was caught and tried, he claimed that he was paid 100,000 euros for the assassination, but he did not know that the man he killed was the brother of a state witness. And ultimately, the court could not find evidence to prove that he did. And whether it's unclear what he did and did not know, it is possible that he was just a hired gun that didn't ask questions. A year after this,
€100,
a lawyer who had the misfortune of representing Nabil in court, had just left his home around 7:40 a.m., but when he made it to his car, a hooded man appeared and tried to shoot him, but the gun jammed and he ran away. But then, in a move I will not suggest anyone try in the same situation, the lawyer ran after his attacker. Dirk caught the gunman and began arguing with him. But when the shooter raised his arm this time, the weapon fired, striking the man 10 times. Now all of this was tied back to the man at the top, Retaliation Taghi. And this led to authorities offering a reward of 100,000 euros for information leading to his capture, which was the highest bounty ever set in Dutch history. Before this, he had done a good job keeping a low profile, as the police didn't know much about him at all, and definitely not enough to build a case. And that's why Nabil, the witness, had such a big target on his head, because he was key in providing information on Taghi that the authorities would have probably never gotten any other way. And turns out, another big motivation for this was that the man mistakenly killed in 2017 in the apartment complex was a good friend of Nabil, which made sure that he would flip. One sloppy job, and what the police describe as a well-oiled machine, caused his downfall. And by the time of the lawyer's death, it's assumed that Taghi was already in Dubai, but still calling shots from over 4,000 miles away.
Oh, you know that.
And due to fake passports
he was
and
still calling
changes,
shots.
Taghi was still able to avoid capture until he was found in Dubai, possibly with the help of the DEA's information on the super cartel he was a part of. But even after being caught and imprisoned, he was still able to maintain contact with the outside world, despite the clear danger he posed as a crime boss. As 2 years after his capture, with the legal proceedings still going on, Peter de Vries, a popular investigative journalist who was well known for his work and more recently his public support for Nabil as a witness, was seen here on CCTV leaving the recording studio of RTL Boulevard, a Dutch news station in Amsterdam, just before he was assassinated after being shot at close range by a man from Rotterdam and 2 other accomplices, with one of them being from Poland.
You know one thing I noticed though? I ain't heard about no innocent people getting hit. I ain't heard about no houses getting shot up. I ain't heard about none of that. All I hear about is calculated, real, like all the way crazy. Like it's still a gang, you know. It's the mafia. It's going the fuck down. It's a war, you know what I'm saying? But it's not as wild and crazy. I don't hear about no switches and all that. I hear about just, you know,
straight in the reach that Taghi had even from prison. But this will be the last time he was able to strike. The witness, Nabil, will end up going through 6 different lawyers before the case concluded, one of them remaining anonymous, possibly due to the danger associated with supporting him, and Taghi himself would have to switch lawyers, as at least one of his attorneys was found to be a part of his criminal organization. But after 3 more years of deliberation, the trial, known as the Marengo trial, had finally ended in the conviction of 17 people, including the witness receiving 10 years, and Ridwan receiving a life sentence. The Marengo trial became one of the most controversial and deadly criminal proceedings in European history, with even the Dutch king, Willem-Alexander, commenting that the attack on the journalist was also an attack on the state. But regardless, there are several other clans operating from Spain to the Netherlands, which keep the drugs and money flowing. And unfortunately, unless the market for narcotics suddenly disappears, it's unlikely that these organizations will be going away anytime soon. But as far as I know, in the Netherlands, I haven't seen any quite as deadly as this one. But unfortunately, that's not to say that the organization itself has completely disappeared. It likely is still operating just under new leadership.
Hell no. Just new leadership, new people. You know what I'm saying? This shit ain't never really ever gonna stop. Like illegal mobs and gangs, this never gonna stop. As long as there's money involved, it ain't never gonna stop. You know what I'm saying? But like, I didn't even know it was cracking like that in Amsterdam. Do your homework on that type shit. On the whole, what is it? Is it Amsterdam or is it Dutch or whatever country? God damn it. It's going down. For real. They pay him up for 100,000. Go smoke him. Like, damn.